Go ahead.
Hey, Robert French here at French's Farm. This is episode number 9 on North Carolina Moringa. The last episode was showed me covering this Moringa with wood chips to see how well it would come up over the winter. And we had a very cold winter for this area. Our normal cold is only around 12 or 14 degrees Fahrenheit, but it got down to 6 degrees Fahrenheit 2 nights in a row. So it was a very cold winter, and the Moringa did come up, as you can see. Some of it's just barely coming up, like this one right here. Some of it's coming up a little more. Some of it's coming up stronger. Not all of them came up, and I don't know whether cold or rot was a factor. I would say about half came up, or maybe over a little over half came up. Now, whether that was worth it, how well that's going to do, compared to these new seedlings, I don't know. But we will do another video to show how well these seedlings grow compared to these ones, like that one right there. This is probably the best one. This one right here. That's looking really good. I noticed when I was digging these up that the wood chips were rotting. They had like a rotting fungus in them. So the next time I bury these, the next time I cut these to the ground and bury them, I'm going to take a styrofoam pie plate and cover them with a styrofoam pie plate or a styrofoam cup. So there's a little barrier between these rotting wood chips and the Moringa, because I think some of these did not die from cold. I think they died from rot. And that one there looks like it's dead, but I see a little sprout coming out of it right there. And that one is also sprouting. So these ones here are just seeds that I threw in the ground. And you can see that's comparing what a new seed that was sown maybe 3 weeks ago would look like compared to what you have coming out of the ground. And as the year goes by, this should progress. And the tallest one I got last year was 13 feet tall from seed. So I think this one might get 20 feet tall by the end of the summer. Now in a minute we're going to look at the ones that I dug up and kept in the house and planted. But for now I'm going to show you planting a Moringa. And I've never planted a Moringa using one of these pots. I've always sown the seed directly into the ground. So we're going to, this will be a first for me. Now I have used these for collards, and these are the Stew and Son pots. This is 8 inches by 3 by 3, and then the bottom's like 2.5, so you see about where you are with it. And get it to the right height. There's my drip tape. I don't know if you can see the drip tape there. Okay, then what you do is you take this, you put some electric tape on the other end of it. And I don't know if the root system is good enough or whether this is just going to fall apart, because this is only been in this pot for about maybe 2 or 3 weeks. So it may just, like totally disintegrate if I take it out of the pot. So that's how you get it out of the pot. And I do see some roots in there, but they may be very tender and they may just all like tear apart. So some of you guys that are used to these pots might tell me better. Oh yeah, look at all those roots, man. Whoa, that's cool. Yeah, we'll have to see how this one does. Okay, it went in there and it didn't fall apart, so that's really good. So yeah, that worked. So that's another alternative. Last year I sowed my seed around the end of May or the 1st of June, and they got 13 feet tall. This year I started this around maybe the middle of April, and it's May the 22nd today. So yeah, so that one might come up. So I mean, this may be a lot of trouble. You may not have to go to all the trouble of burying them, because whether you bury them or you start from seed outside, or you start from transplants, you're going to have success with Moringa in North Carolina Zone 8A. Now, one of the great advantages in making your own Moringa is that when commercial growers grow Moringa, they top the Moringa tree off and they leave the more mature green leaves that have most of the nutrition and don't have as much of that nausea stuff in them. And they just cut those off, so you get these immature leaves that have a lot of nausea in them. But when you grow your own trees, and especially in a zone where you're going to be cutting them down to the ground, you can harvest the dark green leaves, and you don't have to harvest those, and they taste much better. I just wanted to show them that you don't want to do a shallow pot, because look at what they look like in a shallow pot. I mean, that's much easier to plant, but I'm going to go ahead and stick this in the ground too. Again, I started from seed. Let me find a spot where there's not one that's coming up. It's right here. I guess we don't have much time, do we? Let's see. This one's root system looks like. All right, I'll water that later. We don't have much time. Let's go over and look at the Moringa that watch your step through here. So these are my sweet potatoes. Those are just the sprouts that I cut those off 1 inch above the soil line. I do not pull them up out of the soil. I do not plant the roots with them, because the disease is in the roots, and you don't want to bring the disease into your field. So cut them 1 inch above the ground. So these are the ones that I dug up and I stored in the house. And you can see this one's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. Now, one thing I'm going to say about these is that you see how that's damaged right around there? Well, the next time I do this, I'm going to take a rubber band and put it on there right where I've cut it, and put a bandage there so that it heals. And also, they obviously do better when you leave a higher stem, because you're going to have some of this die. And so your rot is going to get in here if you give it a gap. So just put a rubber band on there, and get your bark right up, snug up against your trunk. This one here is not doing so good. You can see I didn't get as much. It's got one little sprout right there coming out of it. It's just that little teeny sprout right there. I don't know if you can see it, but this one here has not done anything yet. That's not to say it won't do something later on, but this has been kind of dry. I didn't have the irrigation on, and maybe they'll start to come to life. This one here has, you can see a couple of sprouts there. And, but I probably waited too long before I took these out. So that's about it. You know, you can grow Moringa. You can overwinter it in this zone, which is North Carolina Zone 8A, and they do very well. We had an unusually cold winter, and yet I still had a lot of survival. You can grow Moringa starting, in the 3x8 pots, and they do well. As you can see, it went right in the ground, and it'll probably grow real well. And you can also overwinter them and cover them. But I suggest you cover them with a little styrofoam pie plate to keep that dirt off of it. So that's all. Until